I'm Corey Johnson for Towleroad.com with Congressman Barney Frank from the state of Massachusetts. Barney, before we start, this is our 8-year anniversary. You and I met about 8 years ago.
At the convention?
Not in Los Angeles. Before that, you wrote me a great letter.
Wow.
Exactly. It's great to be here in Denver. I wanted to talk to you about the LGBT vote in this election. Of course, the differences between the records of Senator McCain and Senator Obama are pretty stark. But in 2004, 25% of self-identified gay voters voted for George W. Bush against Senator Kerry, who had a far better record. What do we do this time around to increase it so less gay people vote for a candidate who isn't as good on our issues?
All we can do is to make clear the difference. Look, we've made real progress in fighting discrimination. There are some people, probably predominantly white gay men, who no longer face much prejudice. If they are with a partner and they both have health care because they both are upper middle class or upper class professionals, and they live in New York or maybe Chicago or San Francisco, it's probably the case that they don't face much discrimination. Now, they don't, in part because the rest of us have fought hard to free them from that, but they may think that for them, lowering their tax rate or continuing to fight the war in Iraq is more important. I would disagree with that, but it's at least logical that saying LGBT rights aren't an important part of my struggle. If, however, people think that LGBT rights and our self-respect and our ability to be treated fairly count, then all we have to do is tell them the fact. I think there is a misperception that John McCain is a moderate. Henny Youngman, the great comedian, had a line, "How's your wife compared to what?" Well, how's John McCain compared to Rick Santorum? He's not as bad as he could be. Compared to Barack Obama, he's awful. Compared to what we have a right to expect, he's awful. The Supreme Court decided that it was against the Constitution to prosecute us for private consenting sex between adults. John McCain will appoint justices who will overturn that. Now, if people don't care if their private behavior is considered criminal, then I don't know what to tell them. But if they care about gays in the military being treated fairly, about a non-discrimination law that's fully inclusive, about hate crimes, about recognition of our relationships, then they should vote for Barack Obama. So I accept the fact that for some gay men in particular, LGBT rights have become unimportant because they have benefited from our successes. But anybody rational who thinks that's important has to agree that a vote for Obama is the right vote.
In 2004, there were over a dozen states that had constitutional amendments on the ballot, and some people say that may have helped George Bush in his re-election in states like Ohio and in other places. This year, it's only 3 states, Arizona, Florida, and California. Do you think that sort of the demagoguing of the gay community will be less than this year than it was 4 years ago?
Yes, because it didn't work. Remember, the Republicans thought that in 2004. Some Democrats did too. But the fact that the Democrats won so handily in 2006 in the House and the Senate has persuaded a lot of people that it wasn't us. It was the misperceptions about the war in Iraq. Look, more than 200 people voted against that constitutional amendment that would have wiped out same-sex marriage in Massachusetts. Of those who voted against it and helped kill it in both houses, one was defeated for re-election by someone who had supported it, and that was in a Republican primary. No Democrat who voted against the Constitutional Amendment lost to a Republican who was for it. About 24 Republicans who had voted for the amendment to ban marriage lost to Democrats who were against it. So I think it's pretty clear that people exaggerated that, and it's obviously not going to affect California, and I don't think it'll have a major effect in Florida and Arizona.
What do you think is going to happen in the next Congress as it relates to the Employment Non-Discrimination Act? Do you think the work has been done by members of the LGBT community to educate more members on including gender identity and expression, and that it could happen in the next Congress? Or do you still think we were where we were a year ago?
We're better off than we are, and it depends how many Democrats. If we pick up 15 or 20 Democrats, most of them will be supportive. But I am disappointed in the transgender community. They seem to think that if Nancy Pelosi and myself and George Miller and a few others waved a magic wand, we could deliver it. Look, this past year, in the legislatures of Maryland, Massachusetts, and New York, efforts to add transgender transgender protection explicitly were defeated. And I testified for it in Massachusetts and lobbied for it. There's a political problem out there. I wish there weren't, but pretending that something doesn't exist is never a good way to deal with it. And I am afraid that too many people in the transgender community think that talking to me and Nancy Pelosi is the way to do it. I don't yet see enough grassroots lobbying on their part. I do think the hearing that we had, and by the way, we had a hearing in the House over the objections of many of the transgender leadership, and I really doubt their political wisdom.
Why were they objected, did they say?
Because they said it was part of our deal to separate it from ENDA, and they wanted to not have anything separate. We did a good job in that hearing, and we helped persuade some people. So we're making progress. We'd make even more progress if the transgender community was willing to do the hard political work and not, frankly, think they could just talk a few leaders into handing this to them.
In 1994, after gays in the military, Don't Ask, Don't Tell was codified by Congress into law. What's the reality if President Obama is elected and we have a big majority in the House and Senate at repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell?
We will get rid of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and there'll be full freedom for people to serve once the president has resolved the Iraq issue. So I'd say in the second year of his term. Now, nobody in the military should be allowed to sexually harass anybody else, but there's no basis for a distinction based on sexual orientation. So I'm pretty confident if Obama wins, by the second year of the administration, that piece of bigotry will be gone.
And also the...
Corey, you said last question.
Oh.
Can't keep doing it.
Okay. Thank you, Barney. Corey Johnson with Towleroad.com. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.